Hello out there and good morning, traders. It is May 15th, 2024, and welcome to the Apteros Daily Market Insight. Let's start with our recap. Our recap was pretty spot on. We had a line in the sand, neutral in nature whenever we were building the DMI because of the acceptance picture. The acceptance picture was kind of right here whenever the DMI was being built, which this volatility kind of shifted that acceptance a little bit around this area. But I had mentioned that this area was still the main zone to be paying attention to during the session, even though our acceptance was a little shaky around it. Really, what you were looking for is just holds above it for scenario one and being more bullish in the short term. And that's what we were looking at in the DMI. And then, of course, if it broke down, being more bearish overall. So, what ended up happening or playing out here was we got the hold up above the line in the sand and it just continued to march all the way up into our main target area here. And that's kind of where we were looking for this trade to go to in the initial phase of it, right? And then, of course, we got the rotation. Things started to kind of stabilize a little bit here, and we started to see this market hold up until pretty much the last couple of hours of trade. And then the bulls really took it over, and they got up above this neutral reference that I was mentioning in the DMI. If we got above this neutral reference, we were in a much more bullish scenario overall. So it's not a surprise to me that we basically just held overnight there. And of course, the news coming in, pressing us up to the next neutral area. So this is not unexpected in the sense of like our multiple time frame analysis in the overall landscape of the context as it's been evolving, right? So overall, yesterday we had a generally bullish bias as long as we were up above this neutral zone. That's what we ended up seeing here play out, especially in this first leg. And then, of course, it just continued to stay bullish, pushing up through the next leg of rhythm. All right, so let's take a look at what's going on today. So for today, we have kind of a bigger picture bullish landscape. The real main line in the sand for the bulls is down here. This is kind of the real area where everything comes together in terms of our multiple time frame analysis. And this is the main destination for that trade idea. So this is really the kind of full landscape of what we're looking at here. And if this is where the initial risk of the trade idea is, this is where the initial target is, you can see where we're at in that risk reward landscape. We're more than halfway up there. So there's not a ton of risk reward left in this trade idea as we continue to move up with it. So a little bit of back and forth definitely possible as we head into the open, and pullbacks and continuations, all that kind of stuff are on the table at this point. So the likely destination that we're trying to reach overall in our analysis is up here. With that being said, we do have multiple time frames aligning for the bulls. So we have kind of an area where we're looking for short-term bullishness in this zone here, and then the bigger, long-term bullishness in this zone here. If these areas break down, the higher time frames definitely take over at that point, and we're kind of bearish below this overall area here. And that's the full landscape of what you can see here in terms of the DMI. Now, talking about the scenarios, basically the scenarios are straightforward. Scenario one, we stay up above this line in the sand area, and we continue to move upward into this overall destination or target. Scenario two is a short-term situation, a very, very scalpy type of environment where this area breaks down and we continue to head downward. First to the 53s right in here, and then of course down into our main line in the sand area where we'd be looking for the overall bullish short-term bias to be tested, and that's kind of where this line in the sand really is for that. And of course, if that breaks down, we end up in a situation where we're looking, with the higher time frames much, lower and so forth. So scenario one, bullish up above. Scenario two, short term bearish below, not as good of an opportunity as scenario one. As we get down into here, scenario three would be a hold of our main line in the sand area there, and scenario four would be a full breakdown of everything from the bulls. And the bulls pretty much have about this much room of validation still in the risk reward landscape. So that's kind of the idea of where the bulls can activate from. And then, of course, from below there, that's where we start to see a shift in this market if we end up seeing the short-term references breaking down. All right, so that's the full DMI landscape today. Trade well out there, mind your risk, and let's get after it.